Wolves win at home against the Heat to move to 9-8. That's a 4-game winning streak, and I am extremely far from happy after that game again. I know that's a ridiculous thing to say. We get above 500. It's a 4-game winning streak. But if you're watching these games, and if I explain to you everything that happened in the context of each of these games, you're going to get why things are still insanely concerning in Minnesota. This is our 4th game in a row, the 4 that we've won, where we have played extremely depleted teams. So we're at home this game. We're playing the Miami Heat, who are 1-6 on the road, now 1-7 this year. They're also 7-11 is their record right now. And last game, they only had 7 available players. They only played 7 again tonight as well. They are missing very key pieces. Jimmy Butler, Tyler Hero, those are their top 2 scorers. They're also missing Duncan Robinson, Victor Oladipo, who's formerly been an all-star, just hasn't been healthy this year. And it's the second leg of a back-to-back. They lost by 26 against Cleveland last night. So they have nothing going for them. Their main star that they still have able to play tonight is Bam Adebayo. So another center. You would think with our 2 7-footers, especially Defensive Player of the Year, formerly Rudy Gobert, we'd be able to counter their one remaining strength. Not the case, especially in that first quarter. Bam Adebayo got everything that he wanted. He was dominating, just attacking Gobert. The first quarter overall was rough. Wolves end up losing it by 3. In that first quarter, our only offense really was Karl Anthony Towns. He has 12 points, 3 assists, 3 rebounds in that first quarter on 5 of 6 shooting, but he almost wasn't even like a good player for us in that quarter, I felt like. He had a couple really bad turnovers that led to instant points, and he gave 0 effort on defense. He absolutely refuses to play any form of help defense, even when Rudy is not on the court, and he's our only big out there. But we really did need that scoring in that first quarter and first half because no stars showed up in the first half, except for Cat on offense. End of the first half, D'Lo has 1 point on a technical free throw that he didn't even get to the line for. Gobert has 0 shot attempts, 0 points. Anthony Edwards, 2 of 8, only 4 points. He's just uninvolved in the offense for the most part, and that's the biggest crime of it all, is that we don't take advantage of his talent so much of the game. And we end the half down 13 points. Gobert with just an atrocious night overall in that first half especially. He really is not playing good defense either. Like his drops in pick and roll coverage a lot of times, he's not even getting out of the lane. And Strus had made 3 threes in the second quarter in a pretty quick span. Gobert is all the way back into the paint, just giving him a wide open look again. And even though we prop up Gobert as being so great at defense, like he's got so many weaknesses. And the premium aspect of defense in today's NBA is versatility, which is the thing that Gobert absolutely does not have. And what's he giving you on offense? For tonight, 0 shot attempts. He only gets free throws in the last minute of the game. Also, I said I didn't like any offseason acquisitions that we made this year. Bryn Forbes is constantly miserable. I don't think I've seen him smile the entire season. He's not playing well. And I always wondered why he was getting just tossed off of teams so much these last couple of years, because he's such a good shooter. I think it's just because he must have a terrible attitude. He always just looks sour, which being on this team, I don't know if I can blame him. Also, Wolves in that first half go 3 of 25 from 3. Just atrocious three-point shooting. That's one of the things that gets overlooked in that Gobert trade. We also dealt Malik Beasley, who made the most threes on our team last year. And our three-point shooting has been really down this year. Getting rid of him is a big reason why. And he's been killing it with the Jazz the last couple games. Has had several nights in the high 20s in scoring. And you see plenty of people flourishing in Utah that were good for us that we gave up for Gobert. The third quarter is where the Wolves have a spark and they end up making their comeback. They go on a 21-4 run, fueled by Jaden McDaniels, Anthony Edwards, and Jordan McLaughlin, the people that I almost always love, even though they have their flaws. Jordan McLaughlin, not the greatest shooter, struggling this year, only had 3 threes on the season, hits 3 in the third quarter, has 4 in the game, just putting out all that output, more than he had in the entire season in one game, and we sit his ass on the bench for the rest of the game. He only gets 16 minutes. D'Lo was terrible tonight. Went back to the version of him where you forget he's even on the team, and then you'll see him clank a wide open jumper, and you're like, oh yeah, there's D'Lo. That's the player we've seen most of this year. That's who he was tonight, and we still run him almost 30 minutes with Jordan McLaughlin staying put on the bench, putting up his best shooting night maybe he's ever had in the league. And that's kind of the last thing that Jordan McLaughlin gives you. He doesn't make any mistakes. He distributes the ball extremely well. He'll get you steals. He's a huge benefit to have on the court for everything but shooting usually. He's had a great shooting night. We plump his ass straight on the bench. Never give him another chance. As much as I've stood up for Chris Finch, he seems like he's having a terrible run to start this year and is always doing the wrong thing, seemingly. Speaking of things that always happen, Karl Anthony Towns picking up terrible fouls. The way that the Wolves' run in the third quarter finally kind of stopped was when Cat picks up an offensive foul and then gets teed up. It was his fourth, and he has to go to the bench. That's kind of when the Wolves' momentum stops and this game will get close again because they got to be up by 8 points at that time. The Wolves are also extremely fortunate that the Heat had a really bad free throw shooting tonight. They only shot 67%, and they've been the best free throw shooting team in the NBA this year. They had their worst free throw shooting night of the season, so very fortunate there. On our side, we still have Anthony Edwards shooting technical free throws for us, and he has the same free throw percentage as Gobert this season. So I don't know who on the coaching staff is thinking, yeah, let's put Ant out there, because he's like tied for the worst free throw shooter on our team right now. But Anthony Edwards did have an explosive half. He was playing extremely well. Jaden McDaniels is also playing very well in that fourth quarter as well. They both have great second halves. I'm all for more involvement for them, and I feel like they are going to show up on the defensive end more regularly than Cat or D'Lo. And those are really the two players that are so complete and have all that potential to be that I think the organization really needs to focus on. By the way, Kyle Anderson was out tonight, and that meant that we got a lot of Taurean Prince minutes, which usually I like, but he probably played his worst game of the season and still got 30 minutes. He had 5 turnovers, not having the ball a lot, and 4 fouls. He really struggled tonight. He did not look good, and I feel like the allocation of minutes have just been really bad from Finch this year. Getting deeper into the fourth quarter, it's an extremely close game. Cat picks up a 5th foul off the ball, just like fighting through a screen, and then he'll end up fouling out later in the game in the most predictable fashion ever. I saw it coming the entire way. We're on a fast break. Lowry is like setting up, waiting for Cat to come to him. Cat gets the ball. He starts to dribble and then decides to try a spin move on Kyle Lowry. He was almost always in the league leaders for charges taken and a notable flopper. And then you have Cat, who just picks up like 4 offensive fouls a game. So you just know what's happening already. Cat fouls out for his 3rd time in the year, and he basically always has 4 or 5 fouls every game. D'Angelo Russell only gets his first made field goal with 2.5 minutes left in the game. Rudy Gobert gets his first points with 1 minute and 10 seconds left in the game. He did score our last 4 points, going 4 for 4 from the free throw line, which is good. Hooray. Wolves were extremely fortunate to get his last 2 free throws because they fouled him with 4 seconds on the shot clock and 10 seconds left in the game, so they really did not have to when they were down 2 at that time. So it was really just a mental lapse from Max Strus that kind of gave us that one at the end. And it's been kind of a lot of that, is that these teams were 1 or 2 plays away from beating the Wolves on every single game here, and the underlining massive issues of these Timberwolves are far from gone. Turnovers are a problem again, and we just can't seem to take advantage of the outrageous offensive talent we have all over the place. And we don't put people in their best situations. We basically never are. We don't take advantage of Gobert's offensive strength, which is pick and roll. We don't take advantage of D'Lo's offensive strength, which is pick and roll. I wonder what we could maybe do to utilize those 2 players that are struggling. Any ideas, Chris Finch? Any ideas? How do we use these 2 people that are good in pick and roll that can't score otherwise? This team's a mess. I'm annoyed. This is how I feel after a 4-game win streak. The season's going to kill me.